Womenjika, or welcome to this evening's panel discussion on career pathways in engineering. My name is Adrian Lee, and I'm a professor in aerospace engineering and RMIT's STEM college, otherwise known as Science, Technology, Engineering and Maths. Before we kick off today's discussion, I'd like to acknowledge the people of the Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nation, on whose unceded lands we conduct the business of the university. RMIT University respectfully acknowledges their ancestors and elders, past and present and emerging. And while we conduct our work remotely, I want to pay my respect to the wider unceded lands of this nation. Today, we have an amazing panel for you. We're going to discuss career paths and options in engineering. We'll talk all about all the things to take into consideration when you choose your degree, the flexibility you have around those options, and how that decision and the things that you can do during your study can really influence your career options as a graduate and beyond. So as I said, we've got a really wonderful panel today, quite a few people from different perspectives, which includes academics, students, alumni, and industry. So you really get a full kind of insight and perspectives on engineering degrees and careers from many different points of view. So it's very exciting. I'll do a quick introduction to our panelists, and then we'll go through them and hear more of their stories and their insights in respective sessions. So first up, we have two academics. We've got Associate Professor Sara Maritpur, who is our Associate Dean for Student Experience in Engineering. Hello, Sara. We've also got Dr. Elizabeth Kiriakou, who is a Program Manager, or the responsible academic for the Bachelor of Engineering Honours program, and we'll hear more about what that program is shortly. Hello, Elizabeth. We've also got two current students who are joining us. We've got a second-year mechanical engineering student, Hunter McKay. Hello, Hunter. We've got a fourth-year mechanical engineering student, Michael Ives. G'day, Michael. And we've also got a graduate, Claudia Varley is an RMIT alumnus. She graduated in 2019 with civil engineering and business management, and she's now working in industry for John Holland. So hello, Claudia, thank you. And finally, we're very lucky to be able to welcome an industry representative, Mr. Michael Edwards, who's General Manager of Boeing Research and Technology. G'day, Michael. So thank you for that. A lot of introductions. We will hear, as I said, from each of the panelists shortly. Just before we start, just some housekeeping. I'd like to remind you that we'll have 15 minutes at the end of our panel discussion to go over any questions that you've got from the audience. So you can submit questions in the Q&A tool on the right at any time, and we'll collect those and do our best to answer them, as many as we can at the end of the session in the final 15 minutes. Okay, so let's dive in after all the introductions and housekeepings are done. Welcome again, everybody. I think I'd like to start with Sara Maritpur, who to give us that introduction into sort of engineering. And Sara, I know you would have given advice to many students in the past about how to choose their degrees. So yeah, it'd be great to hear that. But maybe let's start with just an easy question. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, about what you do and how you got here?
Thank you very much, Adrian. Good day, everyone. My name is Sara Maritpur. I'm a civil engineer. I did my Bachelor in Civil Engineering and then my Master's and PhD in Traffic and Transportation Engineering, one of the areas of civil engineering. How I got here, it was very easy for me. It was a very easy choice. I was born in a family of engineers. My parents are both mechanical engineers. I have a couple of aunts and uncles as engineers. So practically, I didn't have any other option because from the time I was a little child, I was working with different engineers. They were practicing on me to train me as an engineer. So that was a very good thing, and if I go back in time, I still choose engineering. I'm very proud to be an engineer. Yeah.
That's wonderful, yeah. What advice do you give to students? You know, probably the most common question, which program, which degree should I be choosing? It's a very common question. So yeah, what's the kind of advice that you give to students who are really asking that kind of question?
Yeah, thank you. That's one of the common questions we receive in open days. Look, it is very simple. If you are confident about the specialized engineering program you want to choose, you can directly go to the specialized program. For instance, if you are confident that civil engineering is your area or mechanical engineering is your area, you can directly choose that specialized engineering program and continue your studies. But if you are unsure of the specialized engineering program, or if you have some doubts and you want to validate your decision, then we have a general engineering program for you. It is called Bachelor of Engineering, and our next speaker, actually Elizabeth, will talk about that in more detail. Bachelor of Engineering is a common first-year engineering program, but in that program you can choose different electives based on different specialized engineering programs. You can become more familiar with specialized engineering programs through those electives, and then at the end of the first year you can choose your preferred specialized program, move on to the next year, second year, and continue your studies.
Yeah, I imagine there's still a lot of uncertainty with students and prospective students about what even the different disciplines mean and what it means to be an engineer in mechanical or in civil. When the students are actually studying in their degrees, are there things that they can do to get insight into their career? What are the types of things that they can do to learn more about it?
Yes. Even in high school, it is not too early to learn about different engineering areas. I recommend you attending all open day programs at different universities. Ask as many questions as you like to become familiar with different areas of engineering. We are always there to help you. If you have any friend, any family member, any relative who is engineer, try to ask them questions. What sort of job they are doing, what sort of projects they are dealing with, what sort of knowledge they need to be able to be a successful engineer. These are all helping you become more familiar with engineering and making a good decision. And also, at RMIT, for instance, we have RMIT closely works with career advisory teams. They are able to provide you professional advice regarding the actually specialized engineering programs if needed. And also, we have just nowadays everyone uses YouTube or Google things. Simply search in YouTube, find different engineering projects. There are very fantastic videos. You can become familiar with different types of projects in different areas of engineering, and just refresh your knowledge and have a better understanding of engineering and different areas of engineering. So you have some sense. What sort of knowledge is needed, what sort of skills is needed, what type of projects they are doing in each area. Then you can make a better decision.
Yeah, I think that's really useful. What about once students start studying in a certain degree, they've made a choice, they move on, and they still might be unsure about it? Are there things as they're studying, first year and second year they can do to really, increase their knowledge of what's going on and what it means to be a certain type of engineer?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I always recommend the students to try to join different clubs. If there are any internship opportunities, if there are any exchange opportunities, I really encourage students to attend and pay attention to those opportunities. Just join different clubs. They can get exposed to different areas, become more familiar, get more experience. And again, at RMIT, and of course at RMIT, we have career advisory teams. We are always here to provide you advice and guidance and help you make the right decision.
Okay, that's wonderful. Yeah, there's a lot of options. I think it's easy to think that studying is just focusing on the study, but in fact, you've got to learn. Yeah, there's a lot more opportunities you can take advantage of. So, yeah, that's good. Well, that's a wonderful start. I think that's great, sort of setting the scene, the type of things that students can start doing right now. And I guess it's easy if you've got engineers in the family. You could just ask at the dinner table, but if not, yeah, definitely ask around and find out. So I might move now to Elizabeth. Dr. Elizabeth Kiriakou, who is an academic responsible for that program you've heard about, the Bachelor of Engineering Honours Program, also known as a common engineering first year or flexible first year. And in fact, Elizabeth also teaches into that, so it's got a real cold-faced view of that program. So yeah, Elizabeth, throwing to you now. Can you tell us more about the Bachelor of Engineering program?
Yeah, Thanks, Adrian. I'm actually from a very similar background to Sarah, actually. I come from a whole family of engineers. Everybody I know is an engineer. And my father's an electronic engineer. So when I started, I was actually going to be a electrical engineer. But if only I had I transferred to mechanical engineering. If only I had a program like the Common First Year where I could have actually tasted different types of engineering and been exposed to civil engineering and to mechanical engineering and to aerospace engineering. Oh, there are so many engineering choices. It's just incredible. The School of Engineering actually has a nice arrangement of, exposures to different disciplines of engineering. We have a very happy bunch of first-year students, I have to say. I hope they're happy. And they come and they talk to us about what the options are. So in their first semester, they're all doing the same subjects. They're taking 4 subjects in first semester, and we spend a lot of time with them discussing what they are interested in, what they would like to do. And I think choosing an engineering field is, what do you love to do? Engineering is something that I'm very passionate about, and I think all the engineers around me are very passionate and very proud to be engineers. In second semester, we have an array of subjects. I teach into Introduction to Mechanical and Automotive Engineering. We have Introduction to Manufacturing and Mechatronics. I have students who thought they wanted to be electrical engineers, and when they actually took the elective of Manufacturing and Mechatronic, actually changed their mind. And that's wonderful. We have students who have been taking an array of mechanical, civil, aerospace in second semester, and we'll see what happens at the end of this year with which direction they're going to go in. So I think it's all about choice and flexibility. And I think that's the amazing thing that RMIT Engineering is giving us right now. And I really believe that RMIT Engineering School, it provides all engineering students with the tools and the knowledge to turn a creative idea into innovation and change. And that's why we do engineering.
So how does it work in terms of that flexibility? The students come into the Bachelor of Engineering, and how many choices do they get to make? How many different options can they try in order to sort of taste things out, in that first year?
So in the first semester, your subjects are core. So there are certain subjects that you need to take, like maths. If you haven't done maths in VE I think it's then you'll take another math subject within your first year of engineering school, and that actually provides and opens up the opportunity that if you didn't make the choice that you wanted to be an engineer back in high school, you can actually still become an engineer, which is actually fantastic. Again, we're providing more choice and more opportunities for students. So I think there are about 10 different specialties in engineering, which I will have a look at on the RMIT website. And that's it's from civil engineering to sustainable systems, environmental, chemical engineering. It's a whole world of engineering out there, guys.
So you get a chance to, I think that's really wonderful, and probably a program I would have chosen, if it was available at the time. So you get a chance to try a few of those different, and then you get to the end of your second year, end of your first year, and then what happens next? You make a choice.
You make a choice. I guess you take a look at the three electives that you've taken and decided to take for the semester, and that will have pathways into which degree you want to take at the end of the day.
So then you join one of these specializations. Yeah. Okay. And is that, are you put back by having taken that choice, or do you literally just kind of join in to where the people who took that specialist program were in their second year?
So there are, so if you were going to do like mechanical engineering, you take the mechanical engineering elective, you take the electrical engineering elective, and you could take manufacturing and mechatronics, and then move into second year just quite comfortably, and you still finish your degree.
Okay, and I mean, you've taught into the program, and I've seen it, as I said, at the coalface. So what are your observations from the students? Appreciated this, or has it helped them? What have you seen in terms of this type of a degree, which is new for RMIT? So what have been your observations, if any, from what the students have seen?
Well, it's interesting because a few years back, when we didn't have the common first year, I used to have my mechanical engineering students come up to me and say, I actually don't know if I want to do mechanical engineering. And it's like, guys, you've already done 1 year. What are you doing? Okay, don't change. You're going to take another year on your degree. And so with the option of this common first year, you don't need to make that choice straight away. Even if you think you know what you want to do, it's still not a bad option to take the common first year. You have that choice. You've got 1 year to make a decision. And it's interesting how students think what they're going to do one type of engineering, and they've changed just completely. And that's actually quite a nice process, as the students become have more knowledge, and they start actually getting involved and seeing what each engineering discipline has to offer.
Okay, that's really great, and I think we're going to hear the story of a student who's gone down that path. So that's a nice segue, I guess. So thanks very much, Elizabeth. That's wonderful. So I think it's a good opportunity to hear from one of those students who've gone through that. So we've got Hunter McKay, who's a second year Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering and with a double degree in the Bachelor of Business Management.
Yep.
And you chose the common first year that this Bachelor of Engineering program, and are now into your second year. Do you want to just talk us through why you chose that Bachelor of Engineering program, as your choice coming out of year 12?
Well, in year 12, I had no idea what I wanted to do at uni. I knew I wanted to go to uni, and I knew I wanted to go straight out of uni, so I didn't want a gap year.
Yeah.
But I only sort of figured out after going to all the open days that I might like engineering. Like, I like problem solving and all that, fixing things, making things better. So I thought, engineering could be a go, but then 10 different streams of engineering, had no idea. So that's why I did the general first year.
Okay. And had you done any of the research about what, the disciplines are, or you just knew that you kind of in the right school?
Well, I had to do a little bit of research, like YouTube videos, talking to people, I didn't really, because my parents are osteos and physios. We knew no one in the industry, so I kind of had to, just Google it mostly. But I might have got a few opinions, but yeah.
But YouTube was your friend?
Yeah, pretty much. Still is.
And were there kind of, even with that, had you gone down, you narrowed it down from what I think is 13 different specializations down into at least a couple, or you were still all wide open coming into it?
Well, I really liked chemistry in year 12, so I wanted to give chemical engineering a go. And apart from that, I wanted to keep it as broad as possible, so that's why I chose civil and mechanical for the extra two subjects.
Okay. So how did you find that? Coming in with a pretty broad background, I'd say pretty open. Open to whichever pathway happened to attract you more. I mean, how did you find those studies?
Well, I enjoyed them. I did enjoy mechanical more than the rest of them, even though it probably was a little bit more difficult. But essentially, I've ended up second year mechanical now, so it isn't all that bad. But
you don't have to say that because your lecturer for mechanicals in the panel at the same time. So it was just in studying it that you sort of gravitated more towards a particular technical area? You sort of liked it, or you could see yourself more, or what was it that kind of, headed you towards that decision?
Well, I didn't like chemical as much as I thought I would, and so I was really between mechanical and civil. And in the end, I did want to keep it as broad as possible. And mechanical and civil are, very broad streams of engineering. Well, I think, but I ended up choosing mechanical after I talked to Elizabeth a bit about it and a few other tutors, and set myself on mechanical.
Okay, and I mean, so who did you sort of talk to people, or how did you put that? Because I imagine, YouTube was probably your friend, but then in first year you've joined the engineering sort of fraternity, if you like, or so did you get any insight from other people, or was it still just your YouTube?
Well, a few of my tutors from the mechanical in the first year talked a bit of those, a few lecturers, so a bit of insight on both the civil and mechanical. Yeah.
And actually, you chose to go into the double degree, is that right?
Yes, the business wasn't offered with the flexible first year, so that's why I picked up business in the second year.
Yeah, and just what's your thinking about adding business into your into your studies?
I do enjoy it. I run into a little bit of a problem with a few of the prereqs for mechanical, because I did civil and chemical in the first year. They didn't count towards my degree.
Okay.
So I have had to pick up a few extra subjects this year.
Okay.
And bit more of a workload, but enjoying it.
I think if you're taking the double degree, you're trying to take a 4-year Bachelor of Engineering and a 3-year Bachelor of Business and sort of do them in 5 years. So I think you're signing up for a bit of overworking. But
bit of a tough time.
How did you put that kind of study plan together, though, in terms of getting advice on and how to navigate that kind of transition?
Well, I emailed, I ran into Elizabeth in the street, and we got talking about my studies, and she asked me, well, what the hell are you doing? Go talk to the course coordinator and get my study plan all set up. I had no idea I'd missed a few subjects.
Okay,
Thank God. I knew Elizabeth, and thank God that happened, because, I would have finished my degree, not got my degree, and where have I gone wrong? I have to go back.
I think it's coming out loud and clear, the importance of talking to people, so I think that's it's amazing, but it's good to be that you're around so many people. Someone's going to give you that advice. So I think that was that's really good insight into that program. Okay, so what I might do, we might come back and see after we hear from everyone else, how you reflect on that decision, but we'll keep moving at this stage. So thanks very much, Hunter, that was wonderful. So as I mentioned, we've got a lot of different perspectives on careers and pathways, and so we're pretty much going to walk through the sort of life cycle, from starting to end. So we've gone from initially thinking about something into that second year of making a decision and thinking about what that means. And now we're going to talk to a fourth-year student. So Michael Ives is a fourth-year mechanical engineering student. And you actually, Michael, when you started your studies, you were in our automotive engineering program, and then you made the choice to change into mechanical. So maybe you can just share a bit with your story in terms of how your thinking changed through your studies and why you chose to make that transfer into mechanical engineering.
Yeah, definitely. G'day everyone. My name's Michael. I'm a fourth and final year in mechanical engineering. Essentially, I started my degree in the automotive, the automotive degree. Wasn't like Hunter. I went straight into the specialised degree. Came out of high school, thoroughly enjoyed maths and physics, and knew I wanted to pursue engineering. I was really interested in, the whole mechanical automotive side of things. I was raised on a farm in far north Queensland. So I had a lot of early exposure to, farm equipment, larger machinery, and, really got a passion for that kind of route. I did did a fair bit of research on the automotive side of things, and as far as I was aware, RMIT was actually the only university that I could find that offered the specific automotive degree, and that was a real selling point for me. And moved down to Melbourne, started the degree, and really loved it. But as I started to sort of progress through my degree, going through the fundamental core subjects that a lot of other disciplines were doing, a lot of my mates that I made in the first 2 years were mechanical engineer, or aerospace, manufacturing, that type of thing. There was a large range, and going through each subject, learning more about engineering, learning more about what an engineer does, I found that my passion wasn't so much in the automotive side of things. It was more the mechanical engineering as a whole. It was more engineering that I found I had a passion for. And the way the automotive industry was moving at that point, there's slowly reducing in Australia, at least. I decided it was the best decision to change to mechanical, because as I said, I changed halfway through my degree, which means that the subjects that I was doing in the first 2 years were identical to mechanical engineering. They were the same core fundamental subjects, essentially. So I was able to transfer quite easily, quite smoothly, and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah. So it was that you kind of came into the degree thinking one thing, and then you kind of your priorities, I guess. So you sort of what you wanted to focus on sort of changed. Is that you kind of would that be a right way to say it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, not so much the priorities, just more what I wanted to focus on. I wanted that, but I wanted a larger scope that I could pursue in my career, if that makes sense.
Yeah. More options coming on the other end, and let's say more broad, let's range of options. Yeah,
exactly.
And so I guess this is your final year this year, so you're probably in the mad hunt for jobs, and pulling applications. And have you found that decision to be true? Have you been able to apply for a wider range of jobs? Is that something that you've seen? Has that worked for you, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Absolutely. I've been on the hunt for graduate jobs. It was definitely the right decision for scope of available jobs that I could be applying for. Not so good for my free time with all the application process, interviews and whatnot. It quite time consuming, but definitely the right decision for sort of available jobs. What jobs are being advertised at the moment, especially around Melbourne? Yeah.
And one of the other things that students do in their final year of studies is what's a final year project, or what's known as a capstone project. Can you talk maybe a little bit about your project and maybe how that's given you some insight into sort of mechanical engineering as well and that career pathway?
Yeah, definitely. The capstone project I'm actually doing with Elizabeth at the moment. She's my supervising lecturer. With her and along with 4 other students in our group, we're doing the title of our project is Additively Manufactured Cooling Helmet for Cancer-Induced Alopecia. So essentially what we're setting out to do is stop or reduce hair loss for cancer patients going through chemotherapy. The capstone project is essentially an opportunity for engineering students, not just mechanical students, but every discipline of engineering, to showcase their skills to industry, to showcase what they can do and actually apply what they've learnt so far into a project in their final year. And that's showcased through a program called Ingenious. Which is it essentially is held by RMIT and allows potential employers and people from industry to see your work, to see what you're capable of doing, and it's really for you to just highlight your skills and to see what you can do.
Yeah, and I guess it reflect on, making the right choice and seeing what a mechanical engineer can do, I guess, in your case.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a chance to apply each different subject, sort of combine them into one, and it shows employers what you can do, but it also shows you what you can do, because in my opinion, it's your first real chance to combine everything you've learned so far. So far it's kind of been in pieces. You've learnt it in subject blocks, but now you're starting to realize it all works together. It all spices into one, and yeah.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that story. That's great. So we're going to keep moving from the 40 student and beyond into the graduate experience. We're going to turn to Ms. Claudia Varley, who was a graduate, as I mentioned, of the Civil and Infrastructure Bachelor of Engineering, as well as double degree Bachelor of Business Management. Now, Claudia, taking you back to when you were in year 12 and sort of making the decision sort of about where to go. In your case, you were actually choosing to study between quite diverse sort of pathways. You were choosing to study between engineering and medicine, So yeah, could you share your story with us about sort of how you took that choice on and how you ended up in engineering?
Yeah, for sure, Adrian. So coming out of high school, graduating from year 12, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know I wanted to do either engineering and medicine. There was a lot of people in medicine in my family, so I had an understanding on what was involved. But there was no one in engineering from my family, but I was really interested in it. For me, both of the careers had a lot of similarities. There was a science component as well as problem solving. It was challenging, and it was also something where you could be a lifelong learner. So medicine and engineering both had those things, and they both appealed to me. I ended up actually going with medicine straight out of uni. I was fortunate enough to get into both, and I chose to pursue medicine because I knew if I chose engineering and then I decided I'd made a mistake and I wanted to do medicine, I'd have to do really well in engineering and then try and get into postgrad med. So that was my logic in that way. I did it for 2 years, and then I realized it wasn't for me. Looking at all the peers in my cohort, they had such a passion for medicine, and I just didn't have that passion. I couldn't see myself staying in it. So I was left in this position of like, what am I going to do? And then the back of my head that I wanted to pursue engineering. So I took a gap year to kind of sort out my thoughts, and I applied for it. And I got into, it was like a few different unis, and I ended up choosing RMIT because at that point, my gap year and through I hadn't done any maths. And so I saw with RMIT, they offered a lot of support in getting me to kind of a good position to take on engineering. And so that was really fortunate for parents about my kind of thought process. They couldn't understand why I wanted to do engineering. They were like, what, so you're going to be a civil engineer and you're just going to work for a council for the rest of your life? And in my mind, I was like, I guess. Because I didn't really know what engineers did. I had, a general understanding, and I decided on civil engineering because I knew I didn't want to do the other engineering disciplines. Like I didn't like chemistry. Sorry, I think my feedback's a bit glitchy. Let me know if you can't hear me.
Loud and clear. That's so far so good. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like chemistry at high school, so I didn't want to do chemical engineering. I didn't want to work on cars, so I knew I didn't want to be a mechanical engineer. And so I ended up going with civil with RMIT, and I haven't looked back. I ended up getting involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. Like I joined. I was a mentor in my second year, and I joined a lot of extracurricular clubs and did a lot of industry events and networking events. And through meeting other people, I actually learned there was so much more to civil engineering than just working at a council. And I learned that I could also go down the route of construction. So pulling in all the different civil engineering disciplines like transport, traffic, structures, water engineering, and then actually going out on site and delivering it. And so that's what I do now.
Yeah, wow. So I guess in that initial case, it was about passion. That was the thing that sort of turned you on to realizing maybe there was a transition that was needed, I guess. So yeah, I'm thinking back to that decision because I imagine it's actually quite common, to choose between a wide range of different areas. So yeah, if you go back and would give yourself advice at that point, what advice do you give to students who are choosing between such kind of different career paths, and how do you go? Is it just a matter of trying it, or how else do you go about making that decision?
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's best to start with obviously an interest. There's, there'll be a few different things that you're interested in. You should do your research, like everyone's mentioned. Go on YouTube, go to open days, talk to career counselors, and find out a lot more interested in. Ultimately, I think, once you go down one of those paths, you'll see if you have a passion for it. And that's what I believe you really need. If it resonates with your values and you can see yourself being in that for the long term, then that's where you know that you found the path that's for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can definitely have a few different ones. But I don't think there's really a mistake that you can make. For me, it took me I don't think it was, I think it was the right decision because I really found that I learned a lot more about myself, and it made me realize that engineering is really the place for me to be.
Yeah, I think that's really important, that there's no mistakes to make. Every other decision you make is going to inform the next one, and you couldn't have made that one without making the previous one. So yeah, I definitely think that sometimes you do have to just give it a go and look for that spark and reflect. So yeah, I think that's an amazing story to hear. So thank you very much for sharing. I think that's been wonderful. Again, just conscious of time, I'll try and keep things moving. I know we've got a lot of questions coming through, so that's been great. I'm going to move to our final panelist to give another perspective at that end of the trajectory. And we're going to talk to Michael Edwards from Boeing. In fact, Boeing Research and Technology. So maybe just to start, Michael, welcome, and thanks for giving your time up. Maybe just start with, again, an easy question just to describe what you do within the Boeing family.
Oh, thank you, Adrian, and thank you for the invitation to be here. This is a fantastic discussion and so valuable for the engineers that ultimately we will employ in industry. So it's great to be part of it. I head up the research and development group for Boeing Australia. We have about 100 research scientists and engineers in two centres, in Melbourne, where I am, and in Brisbane as well. And essentially our role is to develop new technologies that can be integrated into our current products or services for some, productivity or cost benefit, as well as, just as importantly, developing new technology that can underpin the growth of our Boeing Australia businesses and, for that matter, the broader enterprise around the world.
Okay. So yeah, we've been talking a lot in this session around making that decision about a career and a specialization, and whether you choose mechanical or automotive, and you're keeping your options open, or you're going into something a bit more niche. And I guess the question is, from your perspective, from the industry perspective, how important is that specialized degree program, when you're looking at taking on a potential graduate, to see them with that specialized skill set? How does that fit into the mix of things that you're looking at in potential graduates?
That's a very good question. And to put it in context then, so Boeing is a very large company, large multinational, broad base of business interests across commercial aviation, which everyone is familiar with, of course, but defence and space, as well as services. And of course, research and technology, which is my area. And in fact, Boeing Australia is the largest footprint for the company outside the US, is not that well known. Nearly 4,000 local employees here in Australia, and around about 1,200 engineers employed here in Australia. The largest investment for research and development and prototype defence outside the US. So as such, we employ lots and lots of engineers across a whole range of disciplines in Boeing Australia. So from aerospace, mechanical, manufacturing, mechatronics, materials even, and chemical engineers who might be focused on design, assembly and automation aspects of building specialist aircraft components, like at our factory here at Fisherman's Bend in Melbourne. We specialise in complex carbon fibre composites that are built here in Melbourne for the Dreamliner 787, for example, and other flight control surfaces for other airplanes. But we also have a substantial group of engineers from disciplines such as electrical, software, systems engineering across the country who support some of the defence and space programs, operational support for platforms for the Air Force, and the ADF in general, or satellite communications system. So to answer your question, we do definitely value that specialised degree and the expertise that you can bring to a company like Boeing. And there's a great variety of areas that specialisation can be utilised, as you can tell. But after joining the company, you'll quickly realise that it's just as important is your ability to work in a team environment, where your specialist expertise can be melded with others in a multidisciplinary way. For example, a materials or a structures engineer working alongside manufacturing and mechatronics automation engineers to work out, optimum designs for a next generation carbon fibre aileron that is lighter, cheaper to make, less parts to assemble, but easier and quicker with advanced automation techniques. So all of those three disciplines, feeding off each other for an optimum result, and that's really important.
Yeah, so I guess when you're looking at a particular role and you see applicants with that particular specialization, I guess how important in the mix of what else they're bringing to the role is that specialization, or is it the most important, or is it just one of many important things that get taken into account?
And I think that's really what it's all about, is to be able to bring all aspects of what you learn to the role. You're bringing your specialization for sure, but as I've said, the early experience we give graduates is all about working in cross-disciplinary teams, having a deliberate rotation program where they can gain first-hand experience across multiple aspects of the business, really get hands-on experience with the products and services. And other industry players I know do the same thing. It's very important that, yes, the specialization and the expertise that you learn is paramount, but ultimately, when you're working alongside different engineering disciplines, you're actually sort of feeding off each other. And in a COVID-restricted world, where the physical rotation of engineers has been limited, let's say, working even within the sites that we do, we try to amp that up to make sure that you're getting, as more from the experience as possible. That flexibility to move between groups and get different experiences, particularly in the early part of your career, is very important. And I'm sure Claudia would say the same in the experience that she's having.
Yeah, it sounds like there is a lot of mobility and flexibility that's needed. Okay, I'm just conscious of the time, so I might just ask one more question if I can sneak it in before our Q&A. And I can see I've got a lot of questions in our Q&A. So just one for me. I think I certainly didn't have an appreciation of a research domain and what that meant, and the pathway in. So yeah, you work in a research organization, as you say. And what is the kind of pathway into a research organization or a research career? How does a student, in year 10, 11, 12, think about kind of charting that trajectory?
Well, I think, and listening to Hunter and Michael before was a really good example of them, thinking at that point about what they want to do, doing the homework. That sounded really important. But once you're actually sort of into the undergrad phase, keep a look out, as I'm sure they are too. There are numerous internship programs around the country. And all of them, give different experiences, and you should take those up for sure. They're usually very important parts of the experience that you get as part of your student training. There's graduate intakes. In our case, we have a graduate intake in July and January each year. It's phased depending on the business needs, and it does favour the higher performing interns, the ones that we've seen and know. But even in our industry, it won't be relevant to all industries, but there's lots and lots of next generation networks. Aviation Aerospace Australia run a next gen network for undergrad engineering students. There's Australian Youth Aerospace Association, for example, in my industry, which is a national network, a self-organised network of undergrad science and engineering students. So there's lots of different ways of doing it, and doing the homework, as Hunter and others have talked about, is really important and really valuable.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. As I said, I can see a lot of questions, so I'll probably be returning to you. But that's great insight. Okay, well, that's we've heard a lot from the panelists across, as I said, the entire student life cycle, as we like to say. So yeah, a rich opportunity to ask questions. So I'm just going to scroll through the kind of questions and direct them as we get. But feel free, any of the panelists, if you want to add to something, just to dive in. Our first question, I think, might be to Sara. So yeah, we've had actually a lot of questions coming in about the different engineering specializations and the demand. And this is actually something I think I might like to also get Michael's insight from an industry perspective, but I'll start with Sara. You know, there's many reasons to choose a specialization, but one is the employability and the demand for that, you know, degree coming out the other end. So yeah, is there different demand for, you know, mechanical engineering, automotive, mechatronics, those, you know, do you see that as something, is that something that students should be taking into account?
Thank you very much, Adrian. Yes, of course, demand is very important, and practically that is one of the important things students have to consider when they want to choose their specialized engineering program. Some specialized engineering programs are easier to find a job compared to others, but more or less based on the actually statistics and the results we received from our RMIT graduates. RMIT graduates have been very successful in finding job and actually hunting job opportunities after finishing their studies. Even some of our students found professional jobs even before finishing their degree. So RMIT has been very successful and practically the university is very famous for having very strong connections with the industry, and it helps students be familiar with different industries and find a job.
Yeah, so I guess there's a lot you can do no matter which your specialization is to kind of increase that employability. Just to throw that to Michael. Yeah, do you see different demands for different disciplines or subdisciplines of engineering, or is it something that's seasonal? Is there things that are always needed, or is it just something that's not really relevant in a general sense from an industry point of view?
Look, there's been some business phases that have changed the demand. I mean, COVID-19 has really been hugely impactful to the commercial aviation industry. That won't surprise anyone to hear that, but that's, you know, that will be a relatively short-term impact. There is no doubt that the commercial aviation industry will pick up again. So a lot of that for us has been in that sort of manufacturing area. So the mechanical, mechatronics, and those areas, they're areas of real strength for the work we do here in Melbourne. But I can tell you from a fact point of view. So Boeing Defence Australia, which is based out of Brisbane but all around Australia. Even during the COVID-19 impacted times of 2020, they employed more than 1,200 people last year in 2020, more than 1,200 people. Over 500 of those were engineers, a lot of them in the software engineering space, systems engineering, and a lot of that is in the defence space of mission systems, communication systems and the like. And defence industry is one of the priority areas of recovering as a full economy going forward. So that's certainly still in the short term a very buoyant area.
Well, that's good to hear that there's still demand. Okay, our next question come through is actually one I can answer, which is what does the honours mean when we talk about a Bachelor of Engineering honours? And in fact, the Australian government classifies degrees from 1 to 10 with, you know, Certificate 1, Certificate 2, Level 3, and a Bachelor is a Level 7, and a Bachelor Honours is a Level 8. And after that, you've got 9 for Masters and 10 for PhD. So having a Bachelor Honours, it's the type of the qualification which really shows it's a bit of a higher level or advanced bachelor that gives you deeper professional skills and a bit more research exposure. So when we talk about a Bachelor of Engineering honours, like we were hearing for Elizabeth, it's just that's saying that you're learning that honours level, which is that advanced engineering level, you know, from years 1 to 4, you know, all the way through. So it's really, you know, so that's separate from GPA-based honours, you know, so you can graduate with first-class honours, second-class honours, you know, as a separate thing. But everybody who graduates with a Bachelor Honours, because that's the Level 8 qualification. All right, so here's a question for our current students, Hunter and Michael. Maybe I'll go first to Hunter and then to Michael. What have you enjoyed most about studying engineering, and what makes RMIT a great place to do that?
Well, the hands-on, the practical stuff for me is definitely the winner in regards to what makes RMIT a good university to study engineering.
And what about you, Michael? What's the thing you've enjoyed the most, or at RMIT?
Yeah, I'd probably have to second that. I found that RMIT has a big focus on preparing you for the industry, preparing you for what your job is going to be like. It doesn't just focus on teaching you the concepts and whatnot. It doesn't just focus on the practical side of things. It combines them together. And yeah, I've found that focus to prepare you has been that's by far the best.
Okay, yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, I'll move on. I can see heaps of questions in the thing. So, Sara, sorry to call on you again. A question that maybe only because you mentioned it. There's a question about internships and placements, and you mentioned it's a great way to get exposed to engineering. What kind of internships and does RMIT offer, or how do students go about getting that during their studies?
Yes, great. We have one of the formal ways of exposing to the industry is through capstone research projects that mentioned by the other speakers. So practically through those capstone research projects, the final year research project, students can choose projects which are directly related to industry, the current problems of the industry, and they can directly connect it to industry through those capstone projects. We also have internship opportunities. It is voluntary for the students. If they want, they can take those opportunities. Normally, it is provided. Normally, students are taking that towards the third year, fourth year of their studies. And of course, RMIT, while RMIT helped them find internship opportunity, practically the students can go to a company and work there as an internship opportunity. And also, one of the other fantastic ways of gaining more experience is through exchange studies that we have. Normally, students can go for exchange studies, although during the COVID era, that exchange studies is a bit hard, but hopefully we get out of this condition, and again, exchange studies will be available for our students to go overseas and get more experience.
Yeah, or both as an overseas placement. And that's probably a good point to put in a plug. Actually, I'm running another session like this about connecting your studies in engineering at RMIT with industry, and we're going to talk about things like placements and how to get placements and hear from students. So that's a good, you can definitely jump into that as a separate session. Okay, a question for Elizabeth. Just to clarify about the kind of the Bachelor of Engineering, that common Bachelor, where you've got a mix of core courses you can take, and then you get the option to pick up a few electives to really try have a bit of a taste on each discipline to really gain first-hand experience. Just really a technical point. How many electives can you pick? Can you choose take 13, or do you only get a small number? How many can you pick?
Adrian, you can overload in first year and take 13, no problem. So basically we do 4 subjects a semester, and so first semester is 4 subjects, so basically your fundamentals you're doing in the first semester, and then in second semester we do computer-aided drawing. Everybody does that as a common subject, and then you take 3 electives. So
the 3 electives, okay. And if you have to pick up a maths because you might not have had the maths methods in your year 12, do you also get the 3, or does that go down to 2?
Well, you go down to 2, but the nice thing about that is that it doesn't prolong your degree.
Yeah.
So you still do a 4-year degree, and you also have university electives that you have in 3rd and 4th year, and technical electives in your degree. So you can always pick up another subject just to some variety, I guess.
Yeah, there is a lot of capability to tailor your degree, through electives, technical electives, through good choice of capstone research project. You can actually tailor it quite a lot in the way you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Capstone projects. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, please. Yeah.
With the capstone projects, like Michael is on my team at the moment, but I have 3 mechanical engineers and 2 biomedical engineers. on the team. So again, we're giving students that flexibility to have multidisciplinary studies going on.
And just while I'm talking to you, there's another question that's come through from a student saying that they find maths quite challenging and not sure if engineering is the right path. Have you seen, you must have seen students, in your classrooms with a similar thing. So yeah, what's your response to a student who's thinking in year 12, look, I'm not so strong. I love the idea of engineering, but I'm just worried about the sort of the maths heavy aspect of it.
Well, first of all, engineering is always the right choice, yeah? And but no, I think if you take the extra maths elective, you won't have a problem. You're at engineering school to learn, and we are here to provide that knowledge for you, and I think you'll be fine. I think it's a great choice. I'd do it all over again if I could.
Okay, we're just running out. Might run a few more questions. There's one here for Claudia, which is maybe a common perception. Someone's saying they really want to get into the industry, but are kind of a bit worried that it's a bit male dominated. And what your response to that is, or your reflection, or maybe any advice. I mean, I guess we've got a lot of women on the panel we could ask, but as someone who's probably combining the student perspective and the graduate perspective, industry perspective, do you want to sort of give a response to that question?
Yeah, for sure. So I did civil engineering, and engineering as a whole is still quite male dominated. With some of the new like engineering disciplines like environmental engineering or biomedical engineering, there's actually like about 50% female in those disciplines. But in the more traditional ones like mechanical and civil, there's definitely still a male kind of dominated kind of environment. However, coming into the workplace, it hasn't really been a problem for me. I've definitely been on one job site I was one female out of 300 engineers and construction workers. They had to give me a key to the bathrooms. I had my own female bathroom. And now on the current job I'm on, it's actually 50% male and female, which is like astounding. So there's definitely been a shift in the industry. It's something that we, acknowledge that we need diversity in the industry in order to, have good ideas and, have it, be engineering solutions that are reflective of and applicable for everyone in society. So it's something that's you can definitely see progress with, and it's changing. But if you like engineering and that's what you're worried about, I would say just jump in for. Everyone's in engineering because they all love it, and you'll find people, who have the same passions as you. And if you're in one of the disciplines where there's not as many females, when you find another female who loves engineering as much as you, it's all the more like sweet.
And just while I've got you, I think we had a little bit of discussion around the double degree, engineering and business, and someone who's gone through that and now moved into to industry with that. So yeah, what do you reflect on? Was that the right choice, or what does it add, or how do you see that choice being made, and what has it added to your experience as a graduate?
Yeah, for me, I definitely feel that the 5-year double degree was great. I only did an additional year on my engineering degree, and I got a whole business degree for that. Doing the degree, it provided me more flexibility in, when I took my subjects. The business school is a lot bigger, so I could even take a lot of subjects on the holidays, and which meant that I could accelerate my program and shorten it down. Coming out into the engineering workforce with my business degree, I found it's given me a different perspective. I think about things on financial risk and how we can organize things, and taking a different perspective. So it's only been useful pretty much, especially in me working in construction, where a lot of my job is not only engineering, but it's also management and budgets and people. I found it's been really useful.
Okay, that's great. I think let's see one more final question, I guess, that I can answer, which is that at RMIT, can you do double degrees in 2 different types of engineering? And I'd say, if you've heard it or not, what we're focused on at RMIT is kind of a practical work-based, solutions. And when we offer a double degree, it's because we're trying to create something that you need in the workplace. So, having engineers who know about business is obviously adding value, but having a mechanical engineer who knows about civil engineering it doesn't make a lot of sense. So we don't have this complete pick and mix. We're offering them as add-on where it really adds to your skills and value as a professional. So I do unfortunately think we have to wrap it up there. As much as I would love to grill my panelists and we could talk for hours about COVID and the effect of COVID and some of the other questions that are coming through, but I do have to call it to an end, unfortunately. So I wanted to just close up by giving a big thanks to all of our panelists who graciously devoted their time. It's been amazing to hear that insight. I've learned a lot. I've been around for a long time, but I still learned a lot from today. So I really appreciate you making the time to share your stories and your insights with us. And thank you, the audience, for joining us. It's been an effort, and we're in this world of online learning. So remember to check out the other live sessions on our Open Day platform and register for the main online event on Sunday, August 29. So thanks very much, and we hope to welcome you to RMIT soon.